Hello guys, and today, welcome to London Players Guild. My name is Peter, and today we are going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all things, we are branching out, we're covering more stuff. And today on YG Organization has dropped a new translation for a new theme from Japanese pack, deck build pack Ancient Guardians. It's called ABHYSS, and by the image here we can assume it's going to be reptiles. So I'm actually really excited to just read through them and see what I think. Before we start, if you are not subscribed yet, I do hope that we are able to get your subscription today. Leaving likes and comments help us do more stuff like this. We are trying to cover as many card games as we can because we love card games here. We have a couple of plans for the future as well, and yeah, again, this is our branch out into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market, because why not? We can as well, right? So starting first is Null, Drake of the Abyss. It's a light reptile, level 4, and it's 0/0, so I think there is some interaction with reptiles for 0/0 for the reptilians. I might be wrong. You can only use this card's names, first and second effect once each turn. Yeah. You can set this... Okay, so you can discard this card from your hand and send one dark reptile from your deck to the graveyard. So this is a graveyard play deck. I already like it. I don't think it's going to be too busted, but we'll see. If you control no monsters, or you control an Abyss monster. So it doesn't say that you control only Abyss monsters. So you can have something and an Abyss monster, so it would also work. You can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Also, you can special summon monsters while this card special summoned by this effect is in the monster zone, except reptile monsters. That's a really weird sentence. So essentially, while this card was special summoned by its own effect, if it's in the monster zone, you can't special summon monsters beside reptiles. So it locks you into those reptiles if you use its effect to bring it back. There was a Reptile XYZ card that was 2 level 4s that searched for more reptiles. So this is actually quite cool, because you can still Xyz into that, detach this, search. Yeah, that looks interesting. So Nihil, Drake of the Abyss. It's a reptile, 0 attack, 2000 defense, so a wall this time. Okay. Again, both effects once per turn. You can discard this card from your hand to send one light reptile from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a chaos deck. Ooh, it's a chaos deck. So BLS, Chaos Sorcerer, Chaos Emperor Dragon. Yeah. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Abyss spell trap from your deck to your hand. Okay, so ideally you want to see the light guy. You discard that guy. Oh no, because he mills. He doesn't add to hand. Okay, that's a bit... So if you see this... No, because you would prefer, I guess, find the spell... It depends on spell traps. In the worst case, you can discard this and send from your deck Null guy. And then just summon the Null guy. There's options. Also, this is technically a free tribute, because this doesn't lock you into normal summoning, so you can still do Monarch stuff, for example, in it. I think this is a stretch, but you could, technically. Next is Floggy, Haze of the Abyss. 1800 attack, 1400 defense, light reptile, level 4. All effects once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, or special summoned from the graveyard, so you have a duality, either it goes from field to graveyard or from graveyard to field. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one monster in the graveyard with equal or higher attack. You special summon the target in the opponent's graveyard to the field, and if you do, send the target they control to the graveyard. Oh, so you swap graveyard and field. Okay, cool. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, add this card to your hand. So you can recur it, but then this doesn't trigger itself, right? So you discard the card, add this back to your hand, but then he needs to be summoned from the graveyard or sent from field to the graveyard. I guess if you normal summon him and you link him, yeah, that would work. But I guess some traps that would special summon him during your opponent's turn can be a really interesting disruption, depending on what they do, right? Next is Zohar, Haze of the Abyss. This time it's a Dark Reptile, 1500 attack, 1700 defense, level 4 again. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard or summoned from the graveyard, so the same as the previous one, so this is the counterpart of that one, you can have your opponent draw one card. Oh, I don't like that. If they do, you add one Abyss monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, so they get a random card, you get targeted card. Then each player sends one card from their hand to the graveyard. Okay, so I'm not so sure, because you give your opponent essentially a cycle because they choose what they're going to discard. So I'm not too convinced on this one. It is an interesting effect. Because they draw, you add, then both players discard, and you play mostly from the graveyard, so at least it looks like it's playing from the graveyard, so you can set something up in the graveyard, and you can search what you want to set in the graveyard. It's interesting. And if it's in the graveyard, you can discard a card to add it to your hand. Yeah, so it's counterpart from the other one. Now we go into big guys. It's a level 8 light reptile, 400 attack, 2400 defense. So it's a shield guy. Or girl, I don't know. Curse, Dawn of the Abyss. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute one monster. Special summon this card, then your opponent can special summon one monster from their graveyard to their field, but its effects are negated. So no tutoring, but if it's something that essentially is going to survive a turn, it's weird. Definitely turn 1, this is a good play. Because your opponent has nothing in the graveyard, your opponent doesn't need to have something in the graveyard because they can special summon. So it's something like Gilosaur or something like that. There was a dinosaur level 3 that summoned itself similar. And then second effect, if this card is special summoned, so with its own effect, for example, you can target one level 4 lower Abyss monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So that's your way of getting stuff back. And you could technically, if you have another one of those in the graveyard, you can loop them turn after turn after turn after turn. Because they don't banish themselves when they go to the graveyard. This is actually quite interesting. But this also depends on your opponent not having cards in the graveyard, so this might be a bit iffy. Also no protection. Quite weird for a boss monster. Level 8 Dark Reptile, Aleph, Dusk of the Abyss, 2000 attack, 800 defense. You can only use both effects once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute one, so it's a counterpart of the light guy, of the curse. And after you special summon it, your opponent can add one monster from graveyard to hand. So they can bring back the hand traps. I do not like that. That's not, no. If this card is special summoned, you can target 2 of your banished monsters, including at least one reptile monster, return them to the graveyard. This effect is amazing because it can let you pay again for your BLS. This is huge. And you need to tribute any monster. It doesn't need to be a reptile monster. There's a lot of things you can do with this. The fact that your opponent can get the hand trap is one thing I don't like. Aaron, King of the Abyss. So it's a light reptile, level 8, 2500 attack, 2800 defense. Feels way more like boss monster. Okay, so the previous one were just bigger monsters, not boss monsters. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute 2 monsters, special summon this card. That's a hefty cost. I mean, I know that they can summon themselves, but it is a hefty cost. If your opponent adds a card to the hand except during the draw phase, you can send one random card from their hand to the graveyard. Okay, so this is offsetting the Aleph skill. That's nice. If a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one light or dark reptile monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Okay, so it's recursion for you. And yeah, if your opponent adds cards to their hand. It doesn't need to be draw, it can be from the graveyard to the hand. You can send one random card from their hand to the graveyard. Yeah, that's once per turn, but once during each player's turn. So if they're searching, it's kind of like Darklaw in a way. You need to summon. You need to tribute 2 monsters to summon this, but you can also trigger that because it's a random card. You have a high chance of actually hitting a monster. If you do, you automatically get a search immediately. Yeah, that looks actually really good. So that's the payoff, and so this was the light one, so I assume this is the dark one. Amnesia, Queen of the Abyss. So we have King and Queen. So 2 tributes to summon it. If a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you can send 1 card. You could no wait. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you can send 1 card they control to the graveyard. Okay, so that pays for the other guy that resurrects your opponent's graveyard. Yeah. If a monster is sent from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard. Oh, sorry, this is if a monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard, the previous one. So the king works off of queen and queen works off of king. Okay. I can see that. So queen is special summoning light or dark monster from your graveyard. Except herself, and he also can't search himself. So essentially you want to set up those 2, and then, so king and queen, and then you want to loop dawn and dusk. I think that's the play for you here. Og du Abyss, Deity of the Abyss. Okay, so the god of them. 3100 light reptile, level 10. 3100, 2200. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute 3 monsters, special summon this card. Damn! 3 monsters is hefty for this deck, I think. Once while face up on the field, quick effect. You can send all monsters on the field to the graveyard, except face up monsters that were special summoned from the graveyard. The fact that this is a quick effect, it's only once while it's face up on the field, so... Oh boy. So you do it during your opponent's turn at the right time. Then your turn you tribute this to summon a Dusk or Dawn, and then you tribute 3 monsters to bring him back. It feels very... what's the... Infernoid. It's very similar to Infernoid. I also expect that we're going to get a dark counterpart of the Deity of the Abyss. But yeah, the deck is going to depend on Queen and King sticking on board. I don't think that's going to happen. Unless there's some other crazy plays. Field spell, Depths of the Abyss. If a face-up reptile monsters you control... monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. It can be any card, which is nice. But it needs to be opponent's card's effect. I guess you could just crash into something, but that's unnecessary damage. If this card in your field zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can send cards from the top of your opponent's deck to the graveyard equal to the number of reptile monsters with different names in your graveyard. Mill? I guess? It's weird. So you can mill your opponent, but how many different... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so maximum of 9 unless you play some weird reptiles. Yeah, but again, it needs to be destroyed by opponent's card effect. I guess it could be an interesting one, because the first effect is really scary, so they would want to remove it. If you're already set up for this, you could mill them for a lot. If they have anything that works off the graveyard though, yeah, you don't want to do that. Emptiness of the Abyss. During the main phase, you can tribute 1 reptile monster, then target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon it to your field, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. Okay, so... oh, this continues. So you can tribute 1 of your reptile monsters and steal your opponent's monster until end of turn. But you could, for example, ABHYSS with it or do something else. Yeah? Yeah, that's... And if this face-up card in Spell Trap Zone is sent to the graveyard, you send all face-up non-reptile monsters you control to the graveyard. So if you took anything, you automatically are losing it. It's interesting. I'm curious on what's the lore behind them, because they do look a bit like Infernoid, kinda? I don't know. Invasion of the Abyss. A normal trap, you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. And you special summon 2 tokens that are Reptile, level 2, 0/0, yada yada. If you have 8 or more Abyss monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can apply this effect instead. Okay, so you need to have 8 or more Abyss monsters. There is 9 total. Special summon 2 Reptile monsters with different names from your graveyard. So, this card is a trap, okay, it's slow. But you can summon King and Queen with this card just for free. If you have everything already set up. This is... I don't know. It's weird. The fact that they have only 1 spell and 2 traps, I don't really like this. And they have dedicated searcher for spell traps. Not really for... They have dedicated mill for monsters. And they have later on, but not an easy normal summon search. And they also get Snake Rain. If you don't know what the card does, I don't blame you. It's a spell, you discard 1 card and then send up to 4 reptile monsters from your deck to your graveyard. It was used in Venom decks, I think. I might be wrong. It's like a GX archetype. So, it's a Chaos reptile deck. I kinda like it. It's going to be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of the lore of this. Cause, yeah, I want to see what's the depths of the abyss, what's the deity. Reminds me a bit of Onunko. But that golden armor is totally different, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. What do you guys think about this? And sorry, oh, I just noticed I was sitting in front of the cards all the time. Let me know what do you guys think. Also shout out to YG organization for translating those cards so fast and for us to, yeah, be able to see it. If you don't know, it's ygorganization.com. So make sure to check this out. And let us know down in the comments what do you think. If you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe because it does help us an awful lot. Thank you guys for watching and I will see you around next time.